Namaskar and welcome to StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Sai. The agenda for today's discussion is connected to a very interesting topic called net neutrality. We are going to discuss recent trends or emerging debates connected to net neutrality by asking a question. Can net neutrality survive in the emerging market forces? Regulating internet and maintaining net neutrality has become a very complex task, not just for Indian government, but for any other country or any other government as well. Why? Because complexity is increasing, number of users are increasing, and number of stakeholders are ever increasing. Now, there are consumers. Now, we the consumers would love to have open and free internet, isn't it? But there are other stakeholders involved. There is government which wants to regulate and which wants to tax the different stakeholders. There are internet service providers who want to maximize their profit. There are telecom service providers who want to maximize their profits. And now there are OTT giants, over the top platform giants, who want to maximize their profit by using internet without investing in the traditional infrastructure. And at many places, there is conflict of interest involved. Isn't it a complex issue? In this video lecture, we will understand first what is the meaning of net neutrality. We'll also understand the debate connected to net neutrality and what are the issues or challenges in maintaining net neutrality, or the alternate term, open internet. That is going to be the agenda for today's video lecture. To get to know all this information, stay with me till the very end. All right, let's begin. But before that, to all the UPSC civil services aspirants, remember that the prices have slashed. If you use the code Rahul Live during the Diwali period, the prices would slash and you will get heaviest of the discounts. You will get the entire program around 24K itself. This is the most comprehensive program for UPSC civil services preparation. You can go for English batch, which is starting from 17th November. Hindi batch is starting from 10th November. English is starting from 15th November. Choose according to your convenience. Forget about the delay. Forget about procrastination. Do not dilly-dally. Decide today on this auspicious occasion of Diwali and join the program. I'll see you in the class. All right. Let's begin our discussion of net neutrality. Let's first understand what is the meaning of net neutrality. Now, net means internet. Now, we all know we are connected to a huge interconnection of information, huge interconnection of data, interconnection of different devices all over the world. All the continents are connected through undersea cables. That means different devices are connected and data is being shared from one server to another server. So we are connected eventually to the internet. We know that, right? But there are different stakeholders involved. At every country level, the government regulates the internet. There are internet service providers. There are telecom service providers who also provide internet services. So what is net neutrality? Net neutrality means the internet or the bandwidth of the data that you receive, it must be equal. That means everyone on internet must be treated equally. The main basis of net neutrality is a triple maxim called as no blocking. That means the internet service provider should not block anybody. Again, legal content should not be blocked. Illegal content blocking is all right. No throttling. No throttling means the internet service providers should not give preference to one over another. High speed to someone and low speed to someone. No, everybody should be treated equally. And the third maxim is no paid prioritization. On internet, if somebody is willing to pay you for higher bandwidth, that shall not be allowed, or that should not be allowed. This is the basis of net neutrality. Now, if you're finding it tough to understand, let me give you an example. Okay. See, I have my mobile. And I have the Geo internet. I have my Geo mobile in which there is a Geo network. There is a Geo telecom service. Geo itself is providing me internet as well through their telecom service only, and they have their apps. For instance, I have switched on my data, and imagine in my mobile I open Geo Cinemas. It opens in a flash. All right, that means I have high speed internet. But now imagine I open say Disney Hotstar, and now I see waiting signal. That is the concept of net non-neutrality. It's a hypothetical example that I'm giving you so that you understand the meaning of net neutrality. Means whoever is my service provider, and why I took example of Jio, it can be Jio or Airtel, because both Jio and Airtel together, they garner a market of 83% in India. They are the biggest telecom service providers. They are the biggest internet service providers in India. All right. So they shall not treat in an unequal way. Basically, what I mean here is that they should not prioritize their own products over someone else's product, or if someone else is paying, they should not prioritize their products. That's the basic idea of net neutrality, meaning a totally neutral internet or open free internet would be something like this, where it is my home, I am getting internet here, the internet service provider is providing me data, and whatever I open, whichever website I open, legal content, any blog, any content, any streaming service, be it Geo Cinema, be it Netflix, be it anything, I should get at equal bandwidth. Say my speed is say 50 Mbps, that means same bandwidth should apply to all the content. That is net neutrality. If there is no net neutrality, what happens? I gave you the example. See, I am trying to access some streaming service. In a hypothetical scenario, non-net neutrality domain would be something like this, where say, imagine Airtel network. I have a Airtel network, right? And I open Netflix immediately, and Netflix runs very, very smoothly. But as soon as I open some other streaming service, the speed becomes slower. That's net non-neutrality. And in a hypothetical scenario, what might have happened? That Netflix might have offered some share, or Netflix might have offered some money to the Airtel network that please give me higher bandwidth. Such cases have come already in United States of America. So I hope you have gotten the clear idea of net neutrality, meaning whoever is my internet service provider. And in India, when I say ISP, the telecom service providers and internet service providers, they are more or less same, isn't it? So provide me equal internet, equal access. Right now, I can give you one of the examples of net non-neutrality. For instance, say I told you about Jio. So when my data pack is expired, nothing works. Basically, nothing works. No internet works. But as soon as you open Jio app, that opens for sure, right? That opens. But other app does not open. Say, for example, I can recharge from Jio app. I can recharge from some other app as well. But only Jio app opens. So an example that to understand what is the meaning of net neutrality and what is net non-neutrality. All right. Now question comes up, sir, what is the problem? Let it be very fine, no? Because market is running the entire internet domain. So if internet service provider is bypassing something or is making money out of it, it is very fine, right? If you think like that, there are pros and cons of it. Please remember, it leads to unfair competition, meaning whoever has money, whoever is willing to pay to the internet service provider, he will get a higher bandwidth. Where is equality in it? Means if there is neutral net, if there is open and free internet, then there is freedom to express views, there is equal competition, there is equal opportunity for advertising, right? Apart from that, there is also an option for me to choose. I can go for Jio Cinemas. Again, I'm using example of OTTs, which are video streaming, but please remember, OTTs can be anything. For instance, say I open Uber opens very quickly, but Ola doesn't open, right? Hypothetical examples. All these are hypothetical examples so that you understand. All right. So users can have option to choose. Apart from that, the internet service providers themselves, they cannot increase price arbitrarily, right? And again, you do understand that if it is a free and open internet, completely internet neutrality is there, then there is a possibility of someone misusing it and putting illegal content. So illegal content has to be monitored continuously, right? So there are benefits. The biggest benefit is for smaller players. For instance, say if the net is non-neutral or it is impartial, imagine Amazon is a big player. What Amazon does is, in India, there are only two big players, Airtel and Jio. So what Amazon does is, okay, I am going to give you monthly X amount of money. I'll give you X rupees. So what you do is, whoever has Amazon in their mobile, once they open Amazon shopping app, it should open very quickly. That means give me a higher bandwidth, so that Amazon opens quickly and probably Flipkart doesn't open quickly. So people will think, okay, there is a problem with the Flipkart ad. There is no problem with Amazon. I'll go with Amazon quickly. I hope you get the idea. All right. So that should not happen. Now, if you're a free market proponent, or if you're a liberal proponent, ultra liberal proponent, or neoliberal proponent, you might feel okay, there is nothing wrong in it because it gives innovation, because people can innovate, right? People can innovate. Apart from that, the if say net is not controlled, then people will have access to objectionable content. That is one of the argument. Apart from that, the biggest reason that the telecom company suggests is it is an injustice for us. Now, till now, I was actually batting from the side of consumers, us, right? Now, let me discuss this particular pointer for you from the perspective of the service provider, be it Airtel or Jio. Imagine that I am Jio company. Okay. Now, what I did was I have taken a huge risk. I have entered into the telecom domain. I am paying taxes to the government. I have bought the spectrum from the government. Crores of rupees have gone. I have put in crores of rupees to build my infrastructure, my towers, all the equipments have been put. I am providing you telecom service. I am also providing you internet service, right? I'm giving you decent sound service. Now, if I want to make profit out of it, what is harm in it? Meaning, see, I have invested everything. I have built my infrastructure, and some other company is paying me premium to give them higher bandwidth. Why I shouldn't give it? That's the argument from the telecom companies. I hope you have gotten the idea from both the sides. All right. Now the question is, sir, what is the problem in India? What is the problem in India, and why we are discussing this today itself? Okay. See, in India, as I told you, there is a lot of conflict of interest. First of all, the best internet service providers in India, there is a very small list. There is a very, very small list. As I said, Airtel and Jio, they garner the biggest share. They are the biggest telecom service providers. They are the biggest internet service providers. There are small players. Yes, there is BSNL, there is ACT, there is U, there is Hathway, etc. They are also internet service providers. But telecom and internet service providers, giants are there already. So I'll be talking from their perspective only. Now you must be thinking, sir, why we don't have many telecom service providers? Because sustaining the market has become really tough. That is why the telecom sector is consolidating, and we have only 4 players right now. I would say there is BSNL, there is Jio, there is Airtel, and there is Vodafone Idea, which have merged. Now you must be thinking, sir, why? Because the operating expenses are heavy and the taxes are quite heavy. You have to pay for the spectrum, and you would not believe, in the telecom sector, these companies pay almost 60% as taxes to the government itself. Huge, isn't it? And that is why not many players have sustained. Yes, we at one point of time, I think we had almost a dozen telecom service providers. We had Idea, we had Vodafone, we had that Uninor or Telenor, whatever the company was. There was Aircel, there was Videocon. There was so many. There was Spice. There was Virgin. There was so many telecom service providers. Apart from Airtel, Jio is a more recent entrant who has brought disruption. So we do not have many options to choose from. For me, right now, I have to go either for BSNL, which is a government-led company. So I can go for Jio, I can go for Airtel, or I can go for V. And all of them, they have similar kind of packages, right? So in India, choice is less. That means if they are being non-neutral, I cannot do anything about that. Of course, TRAI has brought regulation. Now, when you look at India, in India, net neutrality debate is going on almost for a decade now. Initially in 2015, the AK Bhargava committee, it released a report, net neutrality report, and based on it, the TRAI, or I would say Ministry of Communication, it brought certain rules and regulations regarding net neutrality for sure. So right now in India, there are some of the strictest net neutrality rules, that if a company violates net neutrality rules and regulations, then there are heavy or hefty fines on those companies. But those are seldom followed, I would say. Why we are having this discussion is because in recent times, there is a new development or a new debate which has emerged. A debate especially between the internet service providers, and I would be using this term together, internet service provider or telecom service provider, because in India, these are more or less same, Jio, Airtel. And remember, there is a conflict of interest here because they have their own OTT platforms as well, because Jio has Jio Cinemas, right? And Airtel has its own Airtel Extreme. Apart from this, there are so many other OTT platforms that have emerged. There is Uber, there is Ola, there is WhatsApp, there is Facebook. Then there are so many video streaming. There is YouTube, right? There is YouTube right now. There are other video streaming OTTs. There are different OTTs which have emerged. All right. Now, the debate is that last year, telecom body, the Cellular Operators Association of India, they proposed that the internet service providers and the OTT platforms, they must go for a revenue sharing model. The argument is that the internet service providers, they have built all the infrastructure, while the OTT platforms, they have not built any infrastructure. They are enjoying the internet services and they are making billions of rupees or billions of dollars. And the internet companies or the ISPs, internet service providers, they want a share out of this. So this was proposed. In fact, this year, the TRAI consultation paper also spoke about the revenue sharing model between the internet service providers and the OTT platforms. As soon as this was announced, there was a lot of hue and cry. The other associations connected with mobile and telecommunication in India, they highlighted that if there is a revenue sharing between OTT and the telecom service providers and the internet service providers, it would violate net neutrality. And to a large extent, it happens even now. Say, for example, when I go to buy a pack, already there are some sort of agreements. For instance, say if I buy 1,000 rupees pack of Jio, they will say you will get Amazon Prime with this, you will also get Netflix with this, you will also get another thing with this. So they already have some sort of an agreement with the OTT service. But does it violate net neutrality norms? That is the question. Are they throttling the speed? Because this has happened already in United States of America. There was a company called Comcast. What Comcast did was they throttled the speed. Speed throttling means I am going to give you only this speed, no matter how much you pay. That means what Comcast did was, for all the video streaming services, they limited the speed to 480p. Now, even if you're watching in HD, the speed would be only 480p only. The bandwidth that they provide is the video will run only in 480p. Why? Because the OTT platforms are enjoying, and that is why they throttled. Nothing could have been done about that. Is it happening in India? Is a telecom operator, is an internet service provider throttling someone's service and giving more bandwidth to their service? Is it happening in India? That's the question. All right. And that is why they are talking about a revenue sharing model. And recently, the government has announced that there is no plan of revenue sharing between OTT and the internet service providers or the telecom service providers. Now, the question is still the same in front of us. Is net truly neutral in India? Is our data secure? Are we looking, or are we getting open and free internet in India? Perhaps no. And it's not just India. Everybody is grappling with this. For instance, what is the solution? How do we ensure neutrality? There is a model of Australia. In Australia, you would not believe there are more than 50 telecom service providers. So a consumer has options, right? So better would be have many internet service providers, many telecom service providers, many OTTs. So whatever you want, you can choose and have a strict regulation. But in India right now, this is not possible, isn't it? Why? Because there is already consolidation of the market. There are only 4 players now, 4 giants, one government giant. I don't want to make fun of it, but still there are 3 major giants. And we, or Vodafone India, is more or less, I would say, I wouldn't call it a giant. So there are 2 giants. There is right now duopoly in the telecom industry. Everybody would accept with that. There is Jio and there is Airtel. So I do not have a choice. Either I have to go for this or that, right? So this is already out of picture for India. So revenue sharing model is something which we can explore. But again, question that beckons in front of us is, how do we maintain net neutrality and transparency here as well? If there is a revenue sharing agreement, how can that agreement be transparent? How can that agreement be fair? And again, how open and free internet can be provided to Indian citizens? That is the question of today's discussion. Now you must be thinking, sir, you have asked the question, what is the answer? The problem is every country is actually grappling with net neutrality norms. USA has also not found out any solution. In 2015, the Obama administration, they brought an act, Open Internet Act, right? Freedom of Internet Act in 2015, open internet legislation. But 2 years later, when the Trump administration came, it basically took back the legislation, and the FCC, the Federal Communication Commission, it removed the legislation. And as of now, individual states can bring their laws to maintain the net neutrality. And many states have done. In fact, some states have brought very strong rules and regulations to maintain net neutrality in the United States of America. But that does not apply to all the states. European Union is also I would say, one of the giants which talks about openness, transparency. They are also grappling with the issue of net neutrality, especially with these OTTs or the giants reigning in, right? The giants are ruling right now. The giants are making billions of rupees, and European Union, it had a consultation last year with the big tech companies itself, so that they contribute towards the costs of telecom network as well. Because the telecom companies, they are spending a lot of money to build infrastructure, and these OTTs, they are using internet, using their infrastructure. On internet, they are providing services. So the question is being asked, can OTTs support telecom infrastructure? Because we do need it, right? Say for example, today we are in 4G. I have to move towards 5G completely. For that, money is needed. Who has to invest? The telecom companies have to invest. The internet companies have to invest, right? And who is enjoying benefit out of it? The OTTs are enjoying a lot of benefit out of it, right? Although there is another argument which can come. You must be thinking right now, sir, but these telecom companies, they have a limit, isn't it? They have a limit. For example, say they are giving me only 10 GB. So in 10 GB, whatever the OTTs can do, they will do. So what is harm in it? But even for those 10 GBs, infrastructure has been given by the telecom companies. In fact, right now, people are enjoying free or unlimited 5G internet, isn't it? So do you think OTTs should contribute towards telecommunication networks cost? Or can there be some sort of a OTT telecom development tax or a telecom development fee? That is the question. Now, there is an idea from the article itself. There is an idea which was written by Dhanuraj and Nisi Solomon from CPPR, Center for Public Policy Research. They suggest a Play Store kind of a model. They suggest that instead of giving a bundled package, what the telecom service providers and the internet service providers, they should do is create a Play Store kind of a model where the consumer can go and pick out whatever choice they want, and revenue sharing agreements can be established between the telecom service provider, internet service provider, and the other stakeholders who are involved, so that there is open and a competent market model. And there can be incentivization for content providers, all right? Incentivization or disincentivization. Again, this is just an idea, but still, net neutrality domain has become highly complex. And that is why big internet companies, big telecom companies, they are right now at loggerheads with the OTT platforms, because they also want a share out of OTT revenues to sustain, not just sustain, to develop and usher in the next generation, that is 5G and 6G. So I would say the ball now is in the court of the government. What the government will do, or what direction the government would provide for these internet service providers and the OTT platforms, and also consumers, because ultimately consumers are the ones who have to have free and open internet, who need to ensure that there is a proper access to information to everybody. So different stakeholders are involved. So let's wait and watch how this net neutrality debate, or how this net neutrality river is going to change its course. As and when there is development, we will have a discussion on that for sure. But I hope out of this discussion, I know that I have not given you many answers. In fact, I have raised more and more questions, right? But I hope that from this discussion, you have gotten the idea what is the meaning of net neutrality, thoroughly have understood the concept, and what is the current debate about this revenue sharing between OTTs and the telecom service providers, or in India, TSP, ISP, more or less same, between the ISPs and the OTT platforms. All right. Right. That's the conclusion of today's discussion. Thank you for watching this video. Jai Hind.